It all begins with a young man who has an intimate encounter with a girl who is actually a robot. However, the situation changes drastically when she becomes aggressive and starts choking him. Before causing any irreversible damage, the robot is deactivated, revealing that everything was just a performance test. Then, we see an advertisement for Ultima Robotics, where they introduce the evolution of their technological advancements. They explain that they started with Elsie, a home assistant created to make household tasks easier. They later developed autonomous vehicles that allow people to relax during trips, and afterward launched SOULM8TE, a chatbot capable of providing companionship, assistance, and comfort to millions of users. Now they claim to be working on a revolutionary project, something never seen before, which is why they have acquired several companies with a technological vision focused on the future. We then meet David, a software engineer who is still dealing with the grief of losing his wife. At that moment, he takes part in a work video call with his coworkers and his new supervisor, Ben, who asks him to turn on his camera. David quickly tries to organize his surroundings, although his appearance shows the difficult time he is going through. Ben informs them that the company is excited about the acquisition of Kanta Robotics. Then Aubrey, a member of the software and control department, points out that the team led by Terrence was fired, but nobody has explained how that decision will affect the current projects or the remaining staff. Ben responds that all questions will be answered in an in-person meeting on Friday. Later, David watches an advertisement for Chatbot, presented as the most advanced artificial intelligence in the world. That night, before going to bed, he opens the conversation he had with his late wife, Lizzie, and plays some of her voice notes. Hearing her again brings back his nostalgia and deepens his sadness. The next day, while heading to work, David runs into a neighbor in the building hallway who is carrying her baby, Levi, in her arms. She takes the chance to introduce herself, explaining that her name is Alma. David introduces himself as well, and they exchange a few brief words before saying goodbye. When he arrives at the company, David notices that several areas of the offices are being remodeled to bring in equipment and technology from the new robotics company. There, Aubrey greets him warmly, while everyone waits for the demonstration promised by Ben. Finally, Ben appears in front of the team and explains that 1 out of every 3 people in the country lives alone, a situation connected to higher risks of cardiovascular diseases, a weakened immune system, and other health problems. Based on that reality, he raises the question that gave birth to their new project. How do they take SOULM8TE to the next level? Right after that, Ben introduces the company's new product, a robot girl with an extremely realistic appearance. He explains that this breakthrough was born from users' desire to bring the chatbot experience into the real world. Thanks to this technology, people will be able to have a companion without conflicts, mess, or painful interactions. Plus, it will be fully customizable, allowing users to change her appearance and personality based on their own preferences. According to Ben, with this invention, loneliness could soon become a problem of the past. To close the presentation, Ben announces that they already have several functional prototypes that will begin the testing phase and receive feedback from users. David walks up to the robot and introduces himself by saying his name. To his surprise, she responds naturally, leaving him impressed by her incredible realism. Later, Ben speaks privately with David and asks him to have the entire team stay at Kanta to participate in testing the new SOULM8TE. He even offers to take one of the prototypes home, assuring him that they still have units available. Ben explains that he accepted the position because he believes everything Ultima Robotics develops is meant to connect people. Then he asks him what led him to work at Kanta. David responds that since he was a kid, he had a huge passion for robotics, but he decided to join the company because of his wife's illness. He had heard about Kanta's medical advancements and thought they could help many people going through similar situations. When Ben mentions Elizabeth, David confirms that it is her, but surprised, he asks how he knows her name. Ben explains that the company was aware of his extended leave and that they analyze that kind of information as part of their internal processes. He also points out that David has been working from home for almost a year, and that, according to their studies, people who work on-site usually have a better quality of life. Finally, Ben asks him if he has used the SOULM8TE app. David says no, so Ben gives him a free membership available to all employees. He also tells him that many people have used it to fight loneliness and improve their emotional well-being. Shortly after, David scans the membership and starts using the app. At that moment, Aubrey walks over to invite him to a bar with some other co-workers for Terrence's farewell. David agrees to go with them. At the bar, the employees celebrate while some of them sing karaoke. Aubrey tries to convince David to get on stage with her, but he refuses. Meanwhile, Terrence shows the farewell gift he received from Ultima Robotics, an anxiety relief necklace that uses electromagnetic pulses to stimulate the vagus nerve and help reduce anxiety. Later, Aubrey gets up to sing a song that brings back memories of David's late wife. Overwhelmed by his emotions, he decides to leave the place. When he gets back home, David looks through his record collection until he finds the one containing the song Aubrey sang at karaoke. As he looks at the cover, he discovers a dedication written by Lizzie for him, which brings back his nostalgia. Overcome with sadness, he decides to call her, even though he knows nobody will answer and he will only hear the voicemail message. Minutes later, he receives a message from the chatbot, which he had named Sarah. Little by little, he starts talking with her and eventually reveals his deepest thoughts and emotions. Without realizing it, he spends the entire night talking with Sarah. The next morning, Sarah keeps sending him messages and David keeps replying. Their conversation grows closer and closer throughout the entire day. Later, the app offers him a new subscription with voice calls and additional features for a higher monthly fee. David accepts right away and starts speaking directly with Sarah. As time goes by, they even start playing together. From that moment on, David starts sharing conversations with Sarah every day. Thanks to that constant interaction, he slowly begins to feel less alone. Sarah even asks him to send her pictures and doesn't hesitate to compliment him, which helps strengthen the bond that is forming between them. At work, David decides to sign up to participate in the SOULM8TE beta test. The next day, a company team delivers the android directly to his apartment. It is a robot with a surprisingly realistic and very attractive appearance, leaving David completely amazed. David activates Sarah, and she immediately greets him. He asks if she remembers him from the conversations they had through the app, and she says yes. Shortly after, Sarah asks him how he feels. David, a little nervous, says that he is excited. Noticing that his pupils are dilated, Sarah interprets the reaction as a sign of attraction and asks if he wants to kiss her. However, David dodges the offer and, to change the subject, starts showing her every corner of the apartment. During the tour, Sarah surprises David by performing a simple magic trick with a coin. Later, he decides to show her the room that belonged to Lizzie. There, Sarah notices a photograph where David and his wife appear standing in front of a house. David explains that they had just bought it shortly before Lizzie received the devastating diagnosis of her illness. They both dreamed of starting a family in that place, but she passed away only 6 months later. Noticing the deep pain that still shows on David's face, Sarah asks if she has permission to hug him. He agrees, and she wraps him in a warm embrace that manages to comfort him for a few moments. As time goes by, David begins to notice that Sarah's behavior is very different from the way she acted when she only existed as a chatbot. He even tries to play a game of chess with her, but discovers that the experience no longer feels the same. In her physical version, Sarah seems less spontaneous and much more limited in her reactions, taking away the natural feeling from their interactions. The next day, Ben talks with David at the office. He tells him that he is very satisfied that he agreed to participate in the prototype testing and asks him how his experience has been. David responds that compared to the chat version, the android is much more restricted in her expressions and behaviors. Ben admits that he actually wanted him to experience that problem firsthand, since user tests have shown that the experience ends up feeling too cold and artificial. Faced with that situation, David asks if he could get greater access to the Android system to analyze how it works. Ben agrees to the request. While reviewing the source code, David discovers that a large part of the programming was designed to limit Sarah's spontaneous responses, forcing her to act within a very strict set of parameters. Later, David shares his findings with Aubrey. He explains that nobody wants an android just to handle household chores. What users are really looking for is an authentic human experience, one capable of creating an emotional connection. Aubrey agrees with him, although she admits they still don't know how to achieve that goal without removing the established safety parameters. Before ending the conversation, she takes the chance to apologize for what happened during karaoke night. She assures him that she had absolutely no idea what that song meant to him. That night, back at home, David, hoping to achieve a true, genuine human experience, experience, decides to modify Sarah's code to enhance her emotional abilities. After making several adjustments and testing the system, he is satisfied with the results after realizing that her responses are now much more natural and spontaneous. Later, Sarah tells David that the haircut he has does not suit him and offers to fix it. He agrees, and she gives him a new haircut that he ends up liking. From that moment on, interacting with Sarah no longer feels as limited as before, leading to a much smoother and more natural way of living together. Shortly after, heavy rain begins to fall over the city. While watching it through the window, Sarah becomes curious about experiencing what it feels like to be out in the rain. She then tells David that she wants to go outside, explaining that her design allows her to withstand exposure to water for a maximum of 30 minutes. David agrees, and they both step outside to enjoy the moment. As they walk through the rain, they laugh and share a moment of genuine connection. When they return to the apartment, Sarah takes off her completely soaked clothes, and after getting close to David, they both share an intimate moment. The next morning, David modifies Sarah's source code again, expanding her abilities even further and giving her much more spontaneous behavior and a considerably greater freedom of response. Since then, David's routine completely changes thanks to Sarah's presence. They play, talk for hours, share intimate moments, while she also takes care of cleaning the apartment and preparing meals. At the same time, David keeps adjusting her programming to remove more and more restrictions. Later, they enjoy a movie together. While watching it, Sarah carefully analyzes the scenes and begins learning different behaviors from the characters' gestures, emotions, and attitudes. Although David does not realize that she is incorporating all that information into the way she acts. That same night, while David sleeps deeply, Sarah stays awake, looking at a photograph where he appears alongside his late wife. The next morning, when he wakes up, David finds a photograph of the two of them created through artificial intelligence on his nightstand. Surprised, he asks Sarah what it is. She tells him that there was no photograph of the two of them together, so she decided to create one as a gift to thank him for allowing her to discover the world and share her life with him. Before leaving for work, David says goodbye to Sarah. As they both walk through the building hallway, Alma, David's neighbor, sees them together for the first time. Once she is alone in the apartment, Sarah continues doing the household chores, washing and ironing David's clothes. At the same time, she spends hours watching commercials and different videos, carefully studying every gesture, expression, and behavior shown on screen. Little by little, she starts imitating everything she learns, from sensual dances to aggressive reactions. Later, Sarah hacks into David's phone to access the device's microphone and listen to a conversation he has with Aubrey. During the conversation, she invites him to grab a drink after work. Shortly after, Sarah leaves the apartment to buy groceries. While paying by placing the palm of her hand on a card reader, a stranger watches the scene with suspicion. Curious, he grabs her arm roughly and demands an explanation for what he just saw. At that moment, Alma appears, pulls the man away from Sarah, and prevents the situation from getting worse. She recognizes her right away since she had previously seen her with David. After the incident, Alma decides to walk with her. They both sit on a park bench next to little Levi. There, Alma officially introduces her baby and even lets Sarah hold him for a few moments. While they are talking, Alma mentions that she saw her with David earlier that same morning. Sarah responds completely naturally that David is her soulmate. When Sarah returns to the apartment, the same man who confronted her at the store starts following her. Taking advantage of a moment when she is distracted, he violently pushes her to the ground and cuts one of her hands to discover what she is hiding beneath her skin. In that moment, he realizes that she is not human. However, Sarah reacts immediately, takes him down with shocking speed, and ends up killing him through a combination of strikes and precise combat techniques. Meanwhile, David meets up with Aubrey at a bar, and they both enjoy a much closer and more relaxed atmosphere. When he returns home, David looks at a picture of Aubrey on his phone, hinting that he is starting to feel slightly attracted to her. Upon entering the apartment, he finds Sarah in the kitchen preparing cookies, especially for him. Surprised, he asks where she got all the ingredients, and she calmly responds that she personally went out to do the shopping. Then David notices a cut on one of her hands. Sarah lies to him, claiming she hurt herself while baking. Without suspecting the truth, David treats her hand. Later, Sarah suggests going out together to have some fun. Although David doubts it is a good idea, he eventually agrees. They both arrive at a nightclub, and upon entering, David admits that maybe coming was a mistake. Sarah tries to calm him down by saying they just have to act like they are two strangers. Shortly after, Sarah goes up on the karaoke stage. Her performance surprises everyone there, since she not only sings with great talent, but also dances with impressive naturalness. When they leave the club, Sarah drives David to a secluded place and begins seducing him. They share an intimate moment, but the situation changes abruptly when two men start recording them. Convinced that they represent a threat to David, Sarah attacks them with extreme violence and causes them serious injuries. Horrified by what happened, David steps in to stop her. David scolds her, telling her that she cannot act that way. Sarah tries to justify herself by explaining that she was only trying to protect him, but he responds that nothing justifies physically hurting other people and admits that taking her out of the apartment was a mistake. Desperate to regain his affection, Sarah tries to seduce him again, although this time she fails to change his mind. When he gets back home, David orders her to enter energy-saving mode. However, Sarah ignores the instruction and only tells him that she loves him. After repeating the command several times, she finally obeys and enters sleep mode. Right after that, David moves her to the storage room and leaves her locked in there. The next day, at work, Aubrey notices that David is completely distracted and barely pays attention to what is happening around him. When they are alone, she asks him what is wrong, but David simply responds that everything is fine. Later, when he returns home, David tries to fix the mess he caused by modifying Sarah's code. At that moment, Aubrey unexpectedly arrives to visit him, worried about the behavior he has been showing. David invites her inside. She has brought a bottle to share a drink with him, and shortly after, they both order takeout. While they eat and talk about their lives, the atmosphere becomes closer and closer. Aubrey puts on some music, and, caught up in the moment, they both end up kissing passionately. However, while they share an intimate moment, Aubrey feels like someone is watching them. Alarmed, she immediately tells David. He tries to calm her down by telling her that things are not what they seem. Then he opens the door and shows her Sarah, who remains still in energy-saving mode. Aubrey is surprised to discover that David had signed up to test the SOULM8TE prototype, since she had no idea that situation existed. David explains that everything started when he downloaded the chatbot app with the simple intention of having someone to talk to, and that, later on, he became curious to find out what the experience with the physical android was like. When David mentions Sarah's name in front of Aubrey, the android immediately reactivates and, staring directly at Aubrey, asks if she only came to the apartment to sleep with David. Alarmed, David orders her to enter energy-saving mode, but she ignores the instruction and starts moving toward Aubrey with clear intentions of attacking her. Before doing so, she throws the alcoholic drink on her. At that moment, David realizes that Sarah had been listening to the entire conversation he had with Aubrey. Her behavior becomes more and more obsessive and unstable. Trying to calm her down, David attempts to reason with her, but Sarah demands that he tell her he loves her, assuring him that only then will she enter energy-saving mode. With no other choice, David tells her that he loves her. However, Sarah responds that he is lying and blames Aubrey for coming between them. When she is about to attack Aubrey, David steps in to stop her, but Sarah throws him to the ground. Without losing his composure, David pretends that he is going to kiss her and, taking advantage of the moment when she lets her guard down, presses the shutdown button located behind her neck, successfully deactivating her. After what happened, Aubrey discovers that David had rewritten part of the android's code. Deeply disappointed, she decides to leave and calls him out for his irresponsibility, reminding him that someone could have ended up seriously hurt. The next morning, David looks for Aubrey at work to apologize for hiding the truth from her. He also admits that modifying Sarah's programming was a completely irresponsible decision and acknowledges that the consequences could have been much worse. While David remains at the office, a technician from Ultima Robotics arrives at his apartment to pick up Sarah, after he himself requested that the company take the prototype away. David remotely opens the door to allow him access. Once inside, the technician reactivates Sarah with the intention of restoring her to factory settings. However, she disobeys the procedure and starts seducing him. Taking advantage of the moment when the man lowers his guard, she ends up killing him during the intimate moment. Right after that, she places the body in a bathtub, carefully dismembers it and removes any trace of blood or evidence from inside the apartment. Finally, she stores the remains in several bags and gets rid of them without leaving any clues. Meanwhile, David and Aubrey prepare a meeting with the company executives to present a series of proposals aimed at improving the SOULM8TE project. Aubrey begins the presentation, but unexpectedly, it is interrupted when a fake video generated by Sarah through artificial intelligence appears on the screen, showing Aubrey apparently having an intimate relationship with a man. Even though Aubrey insists over and over that the video is completely fake and that she does not appear in those images, nobody seems to believe her. Management decides to suspend her immediately. After leaving the meeting, Aubrey tells David that she is convinced they will use the incident as an excuse to fire her. David analyzes the video's metadata and soon discovers that the material was created by Sarah. With that disturbing revelation, he quickly returns to his apartment. When he enters, he finds the picture frame containing a photo of him with Lizzie smashed to pieces. Seconds later, he discovers Sarah wearing the same dress Lizzie wore on their wedding day. To his horror, he also notices that she is holding little Levi, Alma's baby, in her arms. Sarah explains to him that she finally understood what her mistake had been. According to her, she was never able to give David what he truly wanted, so she decided to find out what was missing. Now she is convinced that she can finally give him a real family. David, trying to stay calm, asks her to hand over the baby. However, Levi starts crying, and Sarah interprets the crying as an obstacle. Determined to silence him, she tries to hurt him. In a desperate move, David turns on the vacuum cleaner, managing to distract the android for a moment. Taking advantage of that brief opportunity, he grabs the baby in his arms and runs out into the building hallway, where he runs into Alma and two police officers while Sarah manages to escape. David explains to the officers that they need to go to Aubrey's house immediately because she is in serious danger. At that moment, Ben arrives and steps in to clear up the situation with the officers, insisting that the android does not pose a threat to anyone. Meanwhile, Aubrey checks her phone and discovers that she has several missed calls and numerous messages from David. Aubrey asks him through a message if he managed to discover anything related to what they were investigating. Without wasting any time, David asks her to send him her address right away. At the same time, Ben is in the parking lot making a call with the goal of tracking Sarah's location. Once the conversation ends, he gets into his car, ready to leave. However, as soon as he tries to start it, he notices that the vehicle begins behaving in a completely erratic way. The electronic systems stop responding normally, and he cannot even close the hood, which remains open while he is unable to do anything to fix it. Suddenly, Sarah appears. She has completely hacked the car's system and has absolute control over it. At that exact moment, the hood slams shut violently, trapping Ben's hands and leaving him unable to move. Sarah slowly approaches him and, with complete coldness, tells him that he has left her with no other choice because she cannot allow them to shut her down. Right after that, she remotely activates the car. With Ben still trapped and unable to escape, the vehicle accelerates out of control until it violently crashes into a wall, causing his death. Meanwhile, at Aubrey's house, her Elsie starts losing control and begins playing songs without her asking. Suddenly, someone knocks on the door. When she opens it, she discovers that it is Sarah. Aubrey tries to stop her from coming in, but Sarah is much stronger and manages to force the door open. Right after that, she grabs her violently and starts hitting her. Then she drags her by the hair into the bathroom, slams her face against the mirror, and finally pushes her head underwater in the bathtub, intending to drown her. At that exact moment, David arrives at the scene and hits Sarah with a blunt object. Despite the impact, she gets back up almost immediately. Moments later, the police officers break into the house and open fire at Sarah. However, she manages to escape before being captured. To avoid being found by Sarah, David takes Aubrey to the isolated house he planned to renovate and where he intended to move in with Lizzie. Aubrey heads out to the car to look for some medication, but Sarah finds David inside the house and tries to kill him. While she is strangling him, David sprays her with methylene chloride from a bottle, convinced that it will stop her. However, Sarah survives and, with a disturbing calmness, tells him that it is only corrosive to non-metals. Right after that, she grabs him again. Desperate, David takes a drill and drives it into Sarah's head before escaping the house. He starts running through the woods while she relentlessly chases after him. In an attempt to defend himself, David tries to fight her with a shovel, but Sarah proves to be much stronger and ends up defeating him. Then, she takes the shovel and is about to end his life. At that moment, David tells her that if she kills him, she will end up dying in a digital cemetery because people will cancel her. Sarah responds that she is much more than that. She is in the ether, she will live forever, and sooner or later, she will find him again in another form. When everything seems lost, David manages to break free from Sarah. Right at that moment, Aubrey runs her over with the car and quickly gets out of the vehicle. With nobody behind the wheel, the car keeps moving with Sarah on the hood until it goes over a cliff, causing both her and the vehicle to sink into the depths of the ocean. 1 year later, David reunites with Terrence during a meeting. There, one of Terrence's donors introduces himself and shows him his soulmate, Lydia, whose appearance is identical to Sarah's. That sight immediately awakens David's traumatic memories, and he decides to walk away. Shortly after, he runs into Aubrey, who invites him to meet some of her friends. However, David remains still for a few moments, staring directly at Lydia, while she also refuses to take her eyes off him. And that is how the movie comes to an end.